Hey everyone, it has been such a long time since I've posted anything substantial, so I've been working really hard getting some footage together for you guys to give you an actual update. Now, this video is going to be a little different than the way I normally do things. It's going to be primarily voiceover, and occasionally I'll stop talking when the background audio is just better left to itself. I have decided to move back to Alaska. Now, I am originally from Alaska. I left sometime around 2002. I was about 9 or 10 years old when I moved to the lower 48. And I guess a part of me has always just craved the simplicity and the natural beauty that surrounds you when you live in Alaska. And luckily, my boyfriend was super interested in the idea. And so he sent his mother and I up twice to Alaska, and he came up once with me, all in the search of the perfect piece of land. Long story short, we finally found a beautiful piece of 10 acres down on the Kenai Peninsula, and we were able to grab it for a steal. So now we get to start the process of building our dream house. It had been such a long time since I've been to Alaska. In fact, I hadn't been to Alaska since I had left back in 2002 until April. So, of course, it was only natural for us to take some detours, take in the sights, and, of course, all the tourist activities that we could fit into our timeline. Hi, baby, I see you. So this is one of my neighbor's properties up in Alaska. I'm going to do a quick voiceover here. That's just one of the docks from another one of my neighbors. Great fishing, all 5 species of salmon, and we're so excited to live like half an acre away from this beautiful river. Hey, bear! The noises you have to make when out in the backcountry in Alaska make lots of noise. So bears leave you alone and don't get surprised and try to eat you because you came around the corner and you're too close to their babies. And so, not so fun fact, actually, this morning when we had gone on this hike, my Garmin InReach was out of batteries, and I made the dumb decision to decide to go on this about 1 mile hike in Skilak Lake Loop. Anyways, what we didn't know on the trail up as we were seeing fresh bear scat is the 2 kayakers that we saw on this lake below us had actually been mauled by bear earlier that morning in that vicinity. So the lesson we learned that day is even if your Garmin InReach is dead, go ahead and make sure you always have extra batteries or something along those lines, just in case. Those 2 kayakers, they made it, but they had to paddle to a campsite in order to get help as they didn't have any personal locator beacon on them. The moral of a story: when you are in the backcountry, make sure you have a personal locator beacon on you or a 2-way satellite communicator that has SOS capacity. Worst case scenario, even the best outdoorsmen will run into hairy situations. So after my April expedition with Marina, which is Hendrik's mother, I needed to go back and grab Hendrik because he had never been to Alaska and he already committed to moving. Luckily, when Marina and I had gone back in April, we had looked at a piece of property that had a house on it, and unfortunately, the advertisement was completely misleading and the homeowner wouldn't come down on the price. So we walked away and decided it was best for us to go ahead and buy a piece of raw land and build. Now, Hendrik, of course, also needed to do some sightseeing. I took him to Portage Glacier here in this footage, where I definitely wrecked my drone. And I guess I can upload that too, because that was a really expensive mess up. That moral of the story is don't fly your drone high and forget to take it off sports mode, because you will crash. We also went down to Homer, which of course is one of my favorite places in the entire world, full of childhood memories and absolute magic. Loved watching all of the wildlife, and of course, I am obsessed with this mountain. This is Poot Peak Mountain, super pointy, super pretty, always gives you a stellar backdrop when you are on the Homer Spit. Absolutely love it. Hendrik and I came home from that trip completely empty-handed. We had looked at tons of properties, but everything was either in swampland, in parts of Alaska we didn't want to live in, or just completely out of budget because unfortunately we have really expensive taste in land. Within a week of coming home, we did stumble upon a brand new listing for our dream property. It had everything we wanted. It was close to a river, it had views, it had acreage, and it was on the road system. It had electric nearby, and it didn't really have a lot of crime. So we went ahead and did the next logical step. We booked Maureen and I another trip in June. Now, that trip, we immediately fell in love with the property and decided to purchase it. And then we realized that we are now going to be on a complete time crunch when it comes to building. Winter was just around the corner, and we want to have it livable by next fall. Now, Hendrik has a full-time job, so he stayed behind, and on August 1st, I packed up my car, grabbed a spare tire, and drove all the way from Georgia up through all of the wildfire smokes across the lower 48, crossed the border into Canada, and drove to Alaska to start clearing land before the snow hit. Now, of course, I did try to take my time. I was doing this as a solo drive, so I did have to remind myself to get out of the car. I did try to take a little bit of drone footage, but I also had the zoomies. I just went as fast as I could. While we were in Alaska, we managed to get so much of the land cleared, and we were also celebrating our anniversary, and we were celebrating Hendrik's 30th birthday. So we did a lot of sightseeing on this trip as well. I had originally started to clear the land by hand. We decided that wasn't going to work. Hendrik did come up after I had already been in Alaska for 2 or 3 weeks. Went, rented a bobcat, got our driveway put in, and the land cleared for our future home. We did have the help of some of our neighbors. C and J were so hospitable. They put me up in one of their little motorhomes, so I didn't have to sleep in my car, which I was totally content camping. I was completely prepared. Time on the PCT had me completely convinced that I could rough it on our piece of land. But my neighbors were not so convinced. They are also veterans. Almost everyone in my neighborhood is a veteran, so it's really nice to be amongst my people. I'm ready.
Let me do a couple checks here and then we'll go off.
Sounds good. And any of the footage you see from the small plane in this video, that is all courtesy of C. He did take me out. He's a certified pilot, and he showed me our neighborhood and my property from the plane. He let me fly for a moment, which was just super cool. It's an experience I'll never forget, and I'm just, again, so thankful. I have such wonderful, amazing neighbors, and I can't wait to be half the neighbor back to them that they've been to me so far.
This is insane. So awesome. Guys, like, seriously.
Oh, that's amazing. With time being in short supply and a lot of work to be done, a lot of it not suitable for one person, Hendrik and I went ahead and rented a bobcat. Now, where I'm standing right now is going to be hopefully our future living room. We have a beautiful view of Mount Redoubt, which is an active volcano from our property. It looks way better in person than it does on the drone. Trust me when I say that it's just much better. There's Hendrik having fun on the Bobcat. It was about his only time he got to use it. I took over and did most of the work. But it was cute while it lasted. And here is all of the progress we made. Now, I did a picture in picture. Hopefully, it's coming through. As you can see here in a moment, it just lines up. It was super overgrown. I could only get my car, her name is Gretchen, about a quarter of the way up the road to where the Bobcat is. We have cleared out extra space and taken out some trees here to the left, so that will be a turnout when oncoming traffic, if one of us is coming and one of us is going, there'll be space to kind of move out of the other person's way. We do have a really long driveway. We are super excited for the privacy. And this is the only spot on our 10 acres that we had the view of the volcano. So, of course, we had to prioritize that and really just think of what works best for our sunlight and our land. Now, that is a zoom in of beautiful, beautiful Redoubt at sunset. That was probably 10 p.m. in the afternoon. And there Hendrik goes, zooming away, trying to clear some of the rest of the debris so we could go ahead and lock up before the snow fell. This video is wrapping up, so I do want to go ahead and address two things. The first being the Pacific Crest Trail, and the second one actually kind of ties in with it. So in 2020, for those of you that follow me specifically because I was planning to hike the PCT, I left the trail due to a variety of reasons, partially being COVID, partially being finances, but mostly being surprise appointments due to the Department of Veterans Affairs trying to get my claim situated. So I left the trail to some C&P appointments for veterans. You know what those are. For those that aren't, those are claim and pension exams. Anyways, I had to get all the way back to Virginia for one of those. And about 2.5 months later, while I was waiting on a decision, I ended up getting approved for my disability. So that kind of changed my life. It allowed me to pay off a lot of my debt, really get my life sorted out. And it partially led to me deciding to move to Alaska. Hiking is no longer something I feel like I need. Hiking the PCT when you live in the lower 48 and you're surrounded by people is a wonderful escape. But having the chance to move back to Alaska, ultimately, I don't feel like I need to hike the Pacific Crest Trail anymore when I have an abundance of nature that's about to be in my backyard. That being said, there were a lot of things about the hiking community that, were amazing. I also do have to say, COVID ruined a lot of things for me. The Pacific Crest Trail Association in particular, and a lot of the Facebook groups, and just even some of the hikers who were actively on trail that year. Not all of them, a lot of them were wonderful, great human beings. But it was just such an interesting experience at the start of the pandemic when nerves were still so high and right before a presidential election that it really turned me off to the kind of people who are currently in the trail community. And ultimately, my goal is to just live a quiet, simple life out in nature. And the trail isn't going to give that to me the way Alaska can. So, to anyone who plans to hike the PCT, props to you. I really hope you do well. I wish you the best. If you ever want to come hike in Alaska, let me know. I'll see about Trail Angeline for you. As far as hiking the Pacific Crest Trail, I don't plan to finish it in the coming years. I might revisit it at some point in my life, but having a family, building up my house and just really trying to enjoy life and focus on my mental health and my priorities. Now, I do have a bunch of footage from the past 2 years. I have been going on adventures despite not posting anything. With getting my disability, I really had to work on my mental health. I was awarded my disability in part due to my mental health from my time in the service. So I, at some point, promised to get around to uploading more footage. Hopefully, the videos will be more condensed than this really long one about Alaska, but I felt like I owed an explanation. So I hope you look forward to those. I'm going to try to post more regularly up until I get to Alaska, and then it's a crapshoot. So if you want to continue to subscribe, or if you haven't subscribed yet, I'd really appreciate it to hit that support button. If you want to unsubscribe because you followed me just for the Pacific Crest Trail, I understand, but you're missing out on tons of future Alaska hikes, and I am disappointed for you. So that's it for today. I hope you guys had a wonderful New Year. Stay safe. I love you guys, and take care, guys.